Teacher-centered teachers and child-centered teachers tend to have some fundamentally different beliefs. I suggest that in a teacher-centered approach, teachers tend to believe that a good teacher should be. What do you think? Don't you think so? I think teachers who use more of a teacher-centered approach tend to explain clearly, model clearly, demonstrate clearly, and maybe drill clearly. In a child-centered approach, teachers tend to believe that a good teacher should start with. Confusion may sound rather negative, so you may prefer the word mystery. It comes to the same thing. Cognitive conflict involves a kind of mental confusion. We want the children to encounter something new inside an activity and go, huh? That is a beautiful sound. It is the beginning of learning. If the children are emotionally involved in the activity, and especially if they are having fun, they want to escape from the state of confusion and either assimilate the new knowledge into their mental framework of how they think English works, or expand their mental framework to accommodate the new knowledge. This is where learning happens. In this child-centered model, there is a time to be clear, but it is not at the beginning, and it is not the teacher who needs to be clear. It is the children who gradually become clearer in their own minds after thinking things through. I think teachers who use more of a child-centered approach tend to create puzzles, create mystery, cause confusion, build up anticipation, give the children a sense of accomplishment. One of the wonderful side benefits of continually presenting new language targets through creating mystery and causing confusion is that it gradually builds up the children's ability to handle uncertainty and confusion. In other words, it strengthens their tolerance of ambiguity. As I mentioned in the How Children Learn videos, this is especially important in the English class, because for many of the children, the English class is their point of contact with the international world that is full of different races, different cultures, different religions, and different customs. It's a confusing and messy world, and it is important that the children learn to deal with this messiness with tolerance and positivity. The teacher-centered approach, with its emphasis on clarity and often on clear-cut, black and white, right or wrong ways of doing things, is not developing an international mindset. Personal involvement. One of the aims of a child-centered approach is for each child to feel as personally involved as possible in our lessons and in the learning of English in general. There are various aspects to this that it is helpful to look at. Real versus classroom. Real versus classroom feelings. If you think back to when you were at school, you had a world away from school and a world at school. Some of the things you studied didn't move very much between those two worlds. Some probably did, such as art, or subjects that you were interested in reading about for fun, or talking about with your family or friends. You might have talked about history or something like that, for example. But some subjects just felt like school subjects that you focused on in class or when you did your homework. Your feelings and focus in your normal daily life didn't connect very much with your classroom feelings when you studied those subjects. For some more academic subjects, this may not matter so much. But when learning a living spoken language, such as English, It is very important that children don't just compartmentalize it as a school subject. If we want the children to speak English and sense English and use English more spontaneously, they need to have the same kinds of feelings in the classroom that they have outside the classroom. Fortunately, with children, this is not very difficult to achieve. There is one kind of activity that is at the core of a child's world outside the classroom that we can also make the core of the classroom experience. Can you guess what it is? It begins with P. Yes, play. Playing games. I think the most effective way to bridge the gap between the child's feelings outside the classroom and the child's feelings inside the classroom is to make our lessons games-based. Everything can be playful. I am not arguing for playing games for their own sake. I am not arguing for using time badly. I am actually arguing for a way of teaching that uses time much more efficiently than traditional teacher-centered methods do. But I will look at the practicalities of how to achieve this in more detail in other videos. The important point here is that if our lessons are games-based, the children are more likely to have the same kinds of genuine feelings in the classroom that they have outside the classroom. Emotional involvement. Emotion is also a very important part of learning, as has been demonstrated many times by humanist and constructivist psychology, and more recently by neuroscience. Dry, unemotional language practice is not as effective as learning while having fun. So the children need to learn and play at the same time. Learning and playing are not separate things. It is common to first introduce a language target outside a game and then practice it inside a game. This is not nearly as effective as when the learning and playing are completely integrated as they can be, and I think should be in a child-centered lesson. Personalization. Another way of connecting the classroom world with the children's world outside the classroom, and at the same time learning more deeply, is through personalization. This means using patterns and sentences that connect with the children's worlds, not using sentences like, John and Mary played tennis. Who is John? Who is Mary? Why are they playing tennis? It doesn't connect with the children's worlds. The children need to practice with sentences about themselves, their family members, their classmates, their favourite characters, puppets in the classroom, or anything they feel an emotional bond with. Both constructivist psychology and neuroscience have also demonstrated that deeper learning is all about making connections. The children need to connect, connect, connect. They need to connect new English knowledge they encounter with their prior knowledge of English, connect it with their daily lives, and connect it with their emotions. Ownership and autonomy. Child-centered approaches strengthen ownership and autonomy. If children feel they have ownership for the English language they have learned, they are more likely to use it naturally and spontaneously, and more likely to regard it as a personal interest, not just a school subject. If they are more autonomous when learning English, they are more likely to learn English by themselves outside the class, and more likely to be able to use English by themselves when speaking to somebody from another country when there is no teacher to help them. A teacher-centered approach, by its very nature, often weakens ownership and autonomy. When a teacher teaches, when a teacher explains clearly, demonstrates clearly, models clearly, or drills clearly, the children are receivers of information. They are being treated as blank slates. They are followers. In a child-centered approach, a teacher presents a new language target through mystery or in a fun, confusing way. The children go, "Huh? What's that? I wonder what it is," and then try to find out by guessing. At first, they don't understand, but after trying for a while, they understand. They start with, "Huh?" and end with, "Ah, I see." When they have that eureka moment, that sense of accomplishment, when they feel, "At first I didn't understand, but I tried, and now I do understand," those children have a greater sense of ownership for what they have learned. They also feel that they did it. The teacher may have helped, but the teacher didn't do it for them. The teacher just provided the scaffolding. They built the building themselves, autonomously. A child-centered approach achieves wider and deeper goals that a teacher-centered approach cannot really even conceive of doing.